as far as lamb's popularity with consumers in the U.S., do you think it lags behind, say, beef, pork, chicken because of kind of cultural reasons where those meats are traditionally more popular here? Or is it price or a little bit of both? Do you think it's just a matter of kind of a lack of education? Just people tend not to consider lamb maybe in the US as consumers?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that contribute to that. One of the oldest theories is that during World War II, if soldiers were fed rations of mutton, you had a generation of people coming home from war, and the last thing you wanted to do was have anything that was like lamb. That's obviously mutton's very different than lamb, but that's kind of an outdated uh, uh, way to look at it, because now as the new generation has come up, they don't have that same discrimination against lamb. They're discovering it anew. Some of our most active consumers are younger millennials, people who want to try different foods and different flavors coming in. But yeah, you're right. To your point, if you think about how much beef and chicken the average American consumes in a year, the average American consumes 1 pound of lamb for a year, and that's pretty tiny compared to the other proteins. But we're starting to see that rise as we have an influence of folks from other cultures and countries coming in. And again, that younger generation growing up to be more affluent, they're discovering lamb as well.
Okay. And I just saw, I think it was yesterday, some numbers from the U.S. Meat Export Federation regarding lamb, and I believe it said in the past year, lamb U.S. lamb exports are up by about 50%, and I think the majority of that going to Mexico and elsewhere in Latin America, the Caribbean. How big a role do exports play in your growth strategies or outlook?
It fluctuates. So it's a part of the growth, but I won't say it's a huge part. We've had some success in Japan in recent years, and we have active business to other countries, but it still remains a pretty small part of our business. One of the things we really pride ourselves on is the local nature of partnering with family farms in the United States and delivering that to consumers in the United States who are looking for that local aspect and want to know that their food comes from someplace relatively close to home. So I'd say the export business has kind of come secondary after that.
Okay. And have current market forces, whether it be consumer inflation here in the US or rising fuel prices, has that noticeably begun to affect consumer demand here and then outlook for sales outside the US as well?
I can't speak to sales outside the US right now, but I can tell you that like every industry, ours is going through shorter supplies and higher costs, particularly in fuel. If you think about everything that comes into our plant, from livestock and supplies to the product being delivered out of our plant, it's just skyrocketing. So while this inevitably affects pricing, we're still seeing a demand. One change is as the price of meat gets higher for consumers, particularly the middle meats. If you think of lamb rack and loin, what we're seeing is the lower price cuts like shanks and breasts are flying out pretty much as quickly as we can package them. So those are some of the changes we're seeing regarding price and how that fuel and supply chain impact is really trickling down to the shelf.
Okay. And as far as kind of the production side of things, what sustainability efforts is Superior Farms undertaking just to stay competitive in the current market?
Sure. We're really proud of the sustainability efforts that we're doing and those of our producer partners to really minimize the impact that we have on the environment. I'll give you a few examples. Our facility in Northern California is powered, 95% of its power comes from solar and wind energy. Um, Another is that we've just opened up our Sheep Discovery Center in Utah. Now, this facility is designed to stretch the natural resources that it takes to raise lamb and to raise livestock. It creates a comfortable environment for the sheep. but at the same time, it minimizes the carbon footprint that it would traditionally take to raise a large number of sheep. And the last one that I'll mention is we have a couple of producer partners who they partner with the farmers of other crops. So if you think about a vineyard, for example, or something like that, our producers will bring the sheep in after the crop has been harvested. They'll graze through what remains, and at the same time, they're they're kind of boosting the level of organic matter in the soil. They're making it fertile. They're turning the soil. And anytime you can have a flock of grazing sheep do that instead of a tractor, it's going to lower the carbon emissions. So we're really looking at sustainability at multiple levels, that everything down from reducing the packaging and the water use we have at the plant to making sure our producers have the most innovative new ways to minimize the amount of land they use.
Okay. Um, let's see. As far as are there any specific, say, consumer-focused promotions that you are rolling out for this year or in the near future?
Yeah, I would say most of them that we do are coordinated with various customers of ours. So that means that there'd be any number of them that aren't direct consumer promotions from us. But as our customers are starting to get into more advertising and more promotions, maybe things they've held back on in the last couple of years, we work with them on an ad program to make sure we're offering them lamb that can move at an ad price. I'd say I'll go back a minute. A couple things we're doing directly on the consumer level is we're very active on social media as a brand. So we're always out there every week with new recipes and new ways to cook lamb. And we get a lot of things back from the consumers through social media, showing us how they're enjoying our product. And that's very rewarding as well.
Okay. Well, Bob, I think that's all the questions that I had for you. If there's anything you would like to add, please feel free to do so.
Oh, thanks I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. We're just very excited about the recent rise in consumer demand for American lamb. We think, every time we see a person who's never had it, put one bite in their mouth and taste it, they love it. And we just want to make that happen as much as we can.
Yeah, I lived in Kansas City forever, and one of the barbecue restaurants there has a full slab of lamb ribs on their menu, and it is really good. So I think there's a lot of potential for lamb.
I agree. I agree.
Well, Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Fred.